What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. Like, share, subscribe, comment, IG, TikTok, bottom of the video, and we're just gonna hop right into it. So today we'll be doing day 6 of the Tupac trial breakdown. Yes, a couple days behind. Still in the process of catching up. We almost there though, but we just gonna hop into it. So the first thing they did, they brought the witness that ended the day 5 last week, which was Michael Dorsey, who works in true crime and film documentaries, who also conducted an interview with Mario Diaz with Keithy D, where he gave a lot of revealing information in the interview that they'll be playing throughout the audio files today. So it was a lot of points or interesting points that I wrote down, but I just want to keep it to the clear facts. So one thing I thought was interesting is KVD. He discussed this a couple times, but he discussed how at a certain point when he first met and started hanging out with Puffy, that he was actually richer than Puffy. He was actually doing better off than a lot of these rappers and things of that sort. Back when he was a kingpin and selling drugs.
Like, how did it evolve? Like, you guys were cool and then you hung out a lot together.
When he used to come to California, we used to meet up and have fun. I was a baller, I was a dealer. In fact, I was doing better than him back then. Shit, fun, man.
Back to the Puffy thing. One thing I thought was interesting is he discussed where I guess you could say his relationship with Diddy went sour, where he said he felt like, Puffy had turned his back on him, especially after the killings. He felt like, this night changed his life, and he felt like Puffy was a friend of his and a close associate for years, and he felt like he had just turned his back on him.
And he like, man, Puff, every quarter, Puff sent me like $20,000 worth of clothes. Like, ain't that a bitch? So a couple of times I called Daddy's house. He never returned my fucking calls or none of that shit. You know what I'm saying? So I guess he was just trying to wash his hands with us, whatever. Like, fuck it. And that's wrong. That ain't the way it goes, you know what I'm saying? Had your fucking back, supposed to have our fucking back. You know what I'm saying? He don't know what we was up against out here. I hate I took that fucking phone call from his ass. You know what I'm saying? Otherwise, we wouldn't have to put the cops on our ass. We wouldn't, you know what I'm saying? Because me and Suge was friends, motherfucker. We've been knowing each other since we was 9, 10 years old, bitch. I'm tripping, though. Yeah. I'm kind of mad at the dude, dog. You know what I'm talking about, Puffy? Yeah, I'm kind of mad at him.
And there was never any, after you stopped trying after a while, there was never any contact.
Yeah, no contact.
Now that he hasn't been prosecuted for the Biggie murder, that doesn't really hurt his case. I think that would hurt his case more if he was on trial for the Biggie murder, just for the simple fact it gives more to a motive on why he would try to hurt Puffy. But him not being prosecuted for that, I don't think it does much for his case. Now, another thing that I think is going to hurt him today is he discussed his opinion on Tupac multiple times on what he thought about Tupac. And just to give a quick thesis before I show the clip, he saw Tupac as a fake thug, a wannabe gangster, as a rapper who was trying to live out other fantasies, and you could just tell he had a disdain towards Tupac when he was describing him.
About the Bobaton?
No. About Tupac. Like, did you ever feel bad? I mean, this is a kid on, the prime of his life.
I was like,
an artist that everyone loves.
To me, it was an ignorant kid in the prime of his life doing stupid shit out here.
How so?
Also, he shot the police in Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? Jumped on my nephew, him and his little gang. You're a rapper. Stay in your lane. You know what I'm saying? Stay in your fucking lane. You're not a gangster. You're a fucking rapper. Like I told you earlier. Stay in your fucking lane, dude. You know what I'm saying? You're not doing what we doing. You know what I'm saying? So he should have just stayed in his lane. I hate it happened to him. Stuff like that. And, it really changed my fucking life.
Now, another interesting thing was he discussed the Lakewood Mall incident. Now, the prosecution with the Lakewood Mall incident they drew up is different from the story that Keithy D is telling them. Even though Keithy D wasn't there at the Lakewood Mall incident, Obviously, he has close associates and things of that sort. So just to, preference it. So the Lakewood Mall incident that the prosecution has basically drawn up is basically that Orlando Anderson was basically a menace and was just out to, get them. And that he went and they got into a altercation. He snatched Trayvon Lane's death row record. The story that Keithy D is telling him that Keithy D gave money to somebody who was going to play college football that was from his neighborhood named Marcus. He had graduated from Dominguez. He was going to play at Arizona State. He gave him money just to have clothes and things for going off to school. And there, he ran into Trayvon Lane and them, and Marcus was the one who actually beat him up and took off his chains.
You want to talk to me about what happened at Lakewood Mall with Trayvon Lane? Think about the chain.
Yeah, I wasn't there.
Yeah, I know, but you can tell me the story because there's only so many people who know it.
The guy, one of my little homies, wanted to play college football in Arizona. Scholarship. He was at the one to help him get some stuff, like tennis shoes and sweats and clothes and stuff so he can send him to college. So he was there waiting on him. And then the homies come up there. And Trayvon, the three death row guys were there. I guess they was mad dog talking shit to him and shit like that. Shit. And some homies came to the door, he seen them.
Nice.
First thing he did was sock the dude and snatched his chain. I'd have never snatched that guy's chain. Never. Marcus snatched his chain. Chains wasn't worth fucking for $300. Petty ass bullshit ass chain. Just smashed a little it was low like this. That fucking chain talking about this bounty and then the punk ass chain. Yeah.
There's a bounty on it.
Man, that little punk ass chain on me, come on.
So he didn't do it.
Orlando did not snatch that man chain.
So why is it that Tupac then saw him and said, that's the guy who snatched my chain?
All this stuff was building up. But they was there to send him off right, to give him support so he could be all right when he go to college. It just so happened he ran into three of the death row guys, and he was there by himself. And they was bird dogging him, talking shit to him. Death row, Smart, Pyru, and all that. So, shit, he jumped off, Marcus, he wasn't no punk, he could fight good, and he was a football player, so he athletic. So he grabbed, he knocked the guy out, grabbed his chains, that's all. We ain't had no bounty on no chains. We don't want that little punk ass chain. You know what I'm saying? The little chain, weren't worth shit.
So so they started it.
They started it, yeah.
And who's Marcus?
Marcus, he was a football player he was from our neighborhood. He was just graduated from Dominguez High School. He could play football.
Even though the prosecution never made notice of that. And obviously the purpose of that is to draw the line of this was retaliation and things of that sort, just to make Keithy D look menacing for the prosecution. But I think that helps his defense because it gives more of a, we had to do this in self-defense, like they were coming at us like we was coming at them type thing. Now, he gave a couple of details about the event surrounding the shooting that was very interesting after this as well. Another detail he gave is that he seen Suge the day before the fight. And there was no confrontation or anything then. It didn't seem like they had any problems. As, if you've been watching other videos, you know that, he's discussed that him and Suge have known each other since they was 9-10 years old. So them seeing each other the day before everything happened and them it's not being an altercation is definitely an interesting point.
So, yeah, shit. Yeah, I've been going to fights. Las Vegas, yeah.
And you knew that Suge was going to be there?
No, not really. I didn't know Suge was be there. I seen Suge the day before the fight. Outside in the lobby, he was in their Rolls Royces. And then, shit. I seen him there. He spoke to me and everything. If he had beef, he should have said something there.
So who were you with?
Who were I with?
Yeah.
Shit, you were my homeboys. Yeah, he seen me the day before the fight. I pulled up in this Rolls Royce. Yeah.
And Orlando, obviously.
Yeah, Orlando, I think Orlando was with us too, yeah.
He confirmed that they got the car painted when they got back to Compton, which probably made it harder for the investigation to go on so quick, because they probably obviously everybody has. It's been so many witnesses that have laid out light color white Cadillac, so obviously that probably was what they were looking for when they in Compton and probably the Vegas area, and whole time it's a different color now. So that was an interesting point.
And like little Reggie and all of them was shooting at the car. So we got the car painted. We took it to the paint shop. You know what I'm saying? So we turned the car in so there wouldn't be no evidence.
Now, I think in this specific interview, he was trying to give the interviewers a spin. I don't know if he was trying to do it to sell, the entertainment value of it, or he was just trying to basically not like, go against street code and give out information. But he started putting out details that a lot of, this is the first time we hearing of details. Apparently, according to Keithy's interview, Tupac shot at them as well. Don't know how true is that. We've never really heard that from any side of the story, but that is something that he did say.
Okay, but let's go back to the moment that it happened. Right. So you see Suge and Tupac in the BMW. You turn around, right? You described it as a U-turn,
yeah.
So that you're facing, so that you're coming in the from the opposite direction, right? Tell me what happened in that moment.
Would you say one more time?
Tell me what happened in that moment when you finally come close to their car.
No, we came close. We came from the gutter, man. Oh shit! Pop reached down and got his little shit. Got the busting. Shit. We got the busting back. Shit. I never bust. I was only ducking shit. I didn't want to get hit. A couple of people had some little fragments, glasses in the air and shit.
Now, another interesting thing that he did do, and this is different from his other testimony and things of that sort. This time he's like somebody in the back seat. He laid out who with the driving, like that T Brown or Bubble Up was driving. He was in the passenger seat. Big Dre was in the rear driver's seat, and Orlando Anderson was in the rear passenger side seat. But this time he was like, it came from the back seat. I can't say who did it. As you know, if you've watched, if you've been keeping up with this case as a whole, KVD has laid out many times that basically Orlando did it. That Big Dre was scared and Orlando leaned across them and did it. So it was just interesting to see that this was a time that he changed his story up.
Chasing us. Shit, a lot of shots. We got the fuck on. We made a right there on, just another little street right there where the carriage house was.
So, who pulled the trigger?
Who pulled the what?
Who pulled the trigger?
I don't know, to tell you the truth. I didn't see it.
Did Orlando pull the trigger? Who's closest to the other car?
Big Dre was the closest. Big Dre was the closest to the other car. But I was ducking, shit. The dude was crazy. I said, this dude really trying to get a reputation.
They brought up Suge's parole hearing. So if you didn't know, Suge had he violated his probation by getting into that fight in Vegas when they jumped on Orlando Anderson. And even though, he ended up becoming a victim that night of a shooting, he still ended up having to go to jail because, he wasn't supposed to be fighting and things of that sort. And he actually paid Orlando Anderson and them $60,000 to come to his parole hearing and basically lied and said that they didn't do it. But it all really went to shit because they had video evidence, so the judge and the parole officers and thing weren't really going for it because they was like, we see you getting kicked in your head on camera. So that was definitely interesting.
Just told the streets not to say nothing.
When Suge had his parole hearing, Orlando testified on his behalf. Why did he do that?
Damn. He paid us. Well, he paid us off. He the night before you want me to tell the whole truth? Well, the night before his hearing for his court date, my nephew called me and said meet him up at the lawyer's office. So I get to the lawyer's office. It's Reggie Senior, Sergeant Reynolds, and Suge Knight up to the lawyer's office. And there's two Compton police. One of them was captain and sergeant. I was like, what the fuck? You know? So I knew some fishy shit was going on there. Yeah.
And he offered you how much?
Oh, he gave up $60,000
In exchange for?
to say that he didn't do anything.
For Orlando to say that?
Yes.
Just give me that in the full sentence. You're not going to hear my voice.
Okay. Well, my nephew asked me to come up to the lawyer's office. And I get there, Suge Knight, Reggie Wright Sr., and Sergeant Reynolds from the Compton PD was there at the lawyer's office. And it was like trying to work out a deal where nephew wouldn't say that the guy kicked him. But it didn't work because the next day the judge said, I can see him kicking you in the head right fucking now. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Did Orlando regret that?
What's that?
Did he regret it?
Did he regret what?
Like going to court and saying this stuff that wasn't true.
It's the call of the streets, man. Shit.
One thing they talked about, this is another one, the murder weapon. So the interviewer brings up, I guess this is a rumor that's been out there, or maybe it's confirmed, I don't know, but that a close associate of Keithy's, Craig, there was a Glock 40 found in his backyard. If you didn't know, Glock 40 has been confirmed to be the murder weapon for Tupac. And basically, Keithy D denied having anything to do with a gun. Again, a difference in testimony. So once you watch it, you're gonna see this time he basically said he don't know about a gun. They don't know. They didn't have a gun. He didn't see a gun. He's never heard of a gun. Basically, this is what he's saying. You know, in other times he's gave this testimony, he said that the gun was in his. Well, he didn't say it like this, but you could, inference from that the gun was in his possession and he handed it to the backseat. And in previous, he said he would have did it himself. So obviously he knew there was a gun somewhere in the car, even if it wasn't in his possession at a point, even though it sounded like it was. It was a gun somewhere in the car.
One more question. You know how I do my little research? I read that a Glock 40 was found in Corey's yard. Is that true, Corey Edwards?
Well, they said Corey was the first one who made statements about the situation. And I never gave Corey no gun. And nobody from that car never gave Corey no gun.
Can you tell me how the gun ended up in the car?
I didn't have no gun. I don't know who had a gun.
Okay. What happened to the gun after the murder? What'd you do with it?
I have no recollection of what happened to that gun. So.
Okay.
So you know about Corey snitching me out like that?
No, I mean, I just read that I didn't know about the snitching. I knew that the gun was found in his backyard.
Another interesting thing I thought about is, I thought about us. So we, found out throughout this thing that after they shot at Tupac, they shot at some women because they thought the women were following them after the shooting, and they shot at them and made the women stop. what we come to find out, or what they basically said on the stand, is that this was a bit of information that was not known until Keithy D exposed that to the world in some of his, interviews and testimonies.
Officers,
Okay.
what did Mr. Davis say in 2008 about girls on the corner?
He said that after the shooting happened, that they drove forward and hit the right turn on the Cobalt, just like he was in the white Cadillac, and that they almost collided with each other. He referred to them as stupid bitches, and said that they shot back at them, and the girls stopped.
As of 2008, when that statement was made, was there any public information of a car chasing the Cadillac?
There was not no public information about the girls in a Sebring chasing the Cadillac. No, nor about them almost colliding with each other.
Now, this part of the ending of Michael Dorsey on the stand gets very interesting because him and the lawyer are very much got into it. If these was two young males on the street that ran into each other, they probably would have got to fighting because they was not. You could tell these individuals they don't like each other. They were battering each other. It was bad. It was bad. The judge had to step in a couple times. But from the ending of this, one of the things that the defense lawyer brought up was Greg Kading, who was on the task force for the Biggie murder. Obviously, they've been going back and forth for the Tupac Biggie murder here. Obviously, he's on trial for the Tupac murder, but because he was under investigation for the Biggie murder, they inquired a lot into his life and found out a lot about Keithy D. So they used a lot of that here. But he said Craig Caden actually stole files on the Tupac thing, even though he was on the task force for the Biggie thing. And that was kind of a debate they were having because the guy on the stand felt like he didn't steal them. The lawyer saying he stole them because why are you having lawyers why you have files to a case you never worked? Yada, yada, yada.
What detectives are you talking about before Greg Keithy?
Sure. A lot of the Biggie detectives had gathered evidence. Don't shake your head. A lot of Biggie detectives gathered evidence. Jeez, man. A lot of Biggie detectives that gathered evidence that pertained to the Tupac case because the two cases it became known or believed were connected. So they had informants coming forward to them on the Biggie case that were saying, hey, these two things are connected.
Okay. And once again, evidence or information that would have gone to the detective, right?
Eventually to Greg Kading and his team of detectives, yes.
Once again, you got to understand, Greg Keithy was not responsible for the investigation of the Tupac murder.
Correct.
He was part of the task force specifically for the Biggie Smalls murder.
That's correct.
And you are aware at some point he's removed from that task force, right?
Yes.
And one of the things he does is he steals the Tupac file.
I object to the word steals.
I'm sorry, he borrowed.
I don't mean in like a legal sense I object to it. This is a person I object to.
I guess I would.
I'm not raising an objection. I take issue with the word steal.
Okay.
Any detective can take case files with them when they leave the department. It happens all the time. It's extremely common. In fact, I just did a series on Ted Bundy last year based on the same exact thing. One of the lead detectives on the Bundy case in the 70s took a box of files with him, and we were able to obtain those files, and we made a show about Ted Bundy based on his files.
Are you a detective, sir?
No.
So you can't sit here and tell us what a detective can and cannot do. Fair? You're not a detective.
Like legally, I can't say that. I can say based on my experience as a true crime producer for the past 20 years, it's very common in my line of work to come across files that detectives have taken home with them.
And last but not least, the lawyer began creating the fact of there was more motive to it, that somebody of a close associate to Tupac did it, as in Suge Knight or Reggie White and things of that sort. And this theory was that because Tupac was planning on leaving Death Row. He said that, Tupac was trying to build Machiavelli Records and, basically move on to do his own thing. He was disgruntled with Suge. But they also have an account, and what the guy on the stand was saying was basically, yes, but they were planning to still have a distribution deal through Death Row Records, so it wasn't really a clean break, and like there was some bad business or anything going on. So,
and during the time that you looked through that relationship, did you learn that Tupac was not happy with Suge Knight?
I did not. There's conflicting accounts about what was going on at that time, whether or not Tupac was going to leave Death Row because he was unhappy, or whether the idea was that he was going to set up his own label that would then be distributed through Death Row, and that is what Suge Knight wanted his big superstar artists to do, was to branch out, start their own companies, but with Death Row continuing to be the central company that it all flows through.
And that information you're providing to us, is that in some document somewhere?
I don't remember where I got that from.
And regarding Tupac's position here, he had finalized his 3 album in terms of his obligations to Death Row.
As I understand it, yes.
And he had also at some point started to create his own label, Machiavelli.
Correct, I just said that.
And thank you. And with regards to that label, he actually had a book of music that he was going to take with him into that label, right?
I'm not aware of that.
And with regards to the information here, it looks like not only did Tupac fire Death Row, but safe to say that he also
Objection
fired.
assumes a fact, not an evidence.
You guys approach?
That was an interesting thing, and that I think that can help the defense a lot if they're able to bring up more evidence and prove that Tupac was really ready to leave Death Row over business. So very interesting day. We'll say trying to catch up. I do think Keithy D was hurt and helped by the day. Obviously, given that, I think the last couple of days he's been able to tell like, okay, this isn't self defense. They were coming at us like we was coming at them. So I think he will be able to get second degree, especially with the stories and things that he was telling. What I do think hurt him is the conflicting testimony stories. You want to tell them this, you want to tell them that. It just gives that you're not very valuable. But the thing is with him, it's like the information that he give up is really giving up on himself. So even if you didn't, he's in a weird, funny spot right now to me. But I don't think I've ever seen a case like that this much where somebody snitched on themselves this much, basically. But that's really all I gotta say though. So like, share, subscribe, comment, IG, take that on the video, and we out.